45th International Advertising Association World Congress here in Pulau Pinang. Malaysia is the first Southeast Asian country to host this event. Drawing over 1,000 guests and more than 30 speakers and industry experts from all over the globe, it is held here at the Setia Spice Convention Centre in Bayan Lepas, the world's first and only hybrid solar-powered convention centre. Here, we explore the advertising industry's pulse amidst emerging trends and digitalization. I'm Zahir Kelvin Ong Abdullah, and this is Money Matters. Welcome to a special episode of Money Matters, and we have here with us Mr. Sasan Saeidi, President and Chairman of IAA World Global. Thank you for being on Money Matters.
Thank you very much, and we appreciate the time.
Thank you. Now, can I start off by asking you that in the realm of sustainability, how can the advertising industry play a pivotal role in promoting eco-friendly practices and reducing its carbon footprint?
Obviously, we work as the IAA works basically as part of a marketing and advertising forum. So our members are both CMOs and marketeers and also advertisers. But when it comes to the realm of advertising, we're doing that more and more, we can be part of the innovation cycle in terms of helping our clients and helping our brands to create products that are eco-friendly across industries. But more importantly, I think what we can do as an industry within sustainability is that we can be part of the awareness cycle, and we can be part of the promotion cycle in terms of really creating the right awareness for brands, promoting the right causes for the brands. So I think that's how we usually tackle the topics and help resolve some of the issues that are out there.
Right. So what input is being gathered from the 45th IAA World Congress here in Malaysia? What's the main takeaway you hope to deliver?
Obviously, as you're aware, the theme is all around brand recode. I think the entire world needs a recode, not just annually, but all the time. And the conference theme of brand recode, Better World, Better Life, is essentially the whole point about is how can the use of creativity, how can the use of technology, how can the conversions of creativity and technology come together to create a better environment, to create better for people, better for society, and better for planet. If we can create ideas, exchange opinions that can help the individuals that are attending the conference to go back with them, to create better marketing, and for that to make them actually better professionals in their industry, I think we've achieved our objectives in the overall forum that we've created. So that's the aim, that's the ambition.
So you're talking about brand recode. So would you say that this was the biggest challenges that you had to face, or the industry had to face after COVID? What's the main thing that?
I think after COVID, we had to go through a reset from a lot of angles. I think COVID itself was as part of my agency job, we had done a piece of research, and basically we compared the time of COVID to the time of Renaissance. Renaissance was an event that happened during the 15th to 16th century. It also happened after a pandemic. At that time, it was the Black Plague. So the entire industry transformed. New industries were developed, brands had to pivot. I think the pandemic was also a pivot moment for us as an industry, where people had to adopt new ways of marketing. We had to adopt new ways of working. There was no such thing as remote working before the pandemic. It was always physical. So I think from a lot of angles, the pandemic was obviously a very bad time in humanity, because people had to go through a lot of losses. But I think at the same time, it democratized work from a perspective that we had to adapt and shift and use technology to be able to connect better. So those, I think, were some of the main kind of changes. But I think in essence, I think it's really paved its way to where we are today.
So as diversity and inclusion gain prominence, how is the IAA fostering an environment that encourages a wide range of voices and perspectives within the global advertising community?
Yeah. Great question. It's called the International Advertising Association, and we are by nature diverse and inclusive to begin with. We want to make sure that as a brand that talks about DE&I in specific, we want to also walk the talk. So our members, the folks that are joining us, are collaborative partners. So we want to choose like-minded people that believe in DE&I as a core belief. And of course, we put that into practice when it comes to our members and the VPs and the folks that actually make the IAA. So I think that's the first step. You can't talk about DE&I, diversity and inclusivity, if you can't represent it yourself to begin with. So we want to put that as a first step.
All right, Sasan, hold that thought. We've just got to go for a very quick commercial break. We'll see you right after this break. Welcome back to Money Matters. We're talking to Sasan Saeidi, President and Chairman of IAA World Global. Now, continuing where we left off, how can companies strike a balance between pursuing sustainability goals and maintaining financial viability, especially for those concerned about potential short-term loss costs?
Yeah, I think, again, great question. I think it's something that is on all CMOs and all kind of folks that work in marketing. We truly believe that, first and foremost, sustainable marketing does not mean that you don't make money. I think companies that work with purpose, it does not mean that they can't make money. It just means that they make money in a much more ethical manner. That there is a more moral compass when it comes to their approach and to their marketing. More importantly, we think that also sustainable marketing is much more long-term focused. Definitely, I think your question about short-term gains and long-term kind of ambition, I think the name of the game should really be about how do you build your brands and how do you build your companies to last the test of time, and you have to play the long game. I think playing the short game, and I think we've seen it over and over again, that brands that play the short game, especially in today's environment, are not going to win. I think there has to be an effort, there has to be a mindset that in order for you to create a business that can stand the test of time, for it to be sustainable, that your goal needs to be long-term. You need to have certain investments right now built in the right areas to create a more kind of sustainable kind of approach for your brand and for its extensions. And we believe that that's the only way that brands should market today.
Right. So, looking at how you see technology shaping the future of advertising and what ethical considerations should be at the forefront, especially now as we navigate advancements such as AI and data-driven targeting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, data-driven targeting, I mean, obviously we've also gone through a transition when it comes to kind of data and privacy issues, right? I think with the also kind of abolishment of cookies, because we're now kind of moving towards definitely a cookieless world, and, you know, focusing on the right adoption of first-party strategy when it comes to data. We are, as an industry, I think, again, going back to the role of the IAA, more and more we need to create policies. Again, there are kind of global data privacy policies. I mean, in Europe you have GDPR, and you know, you have the equivalent of it in most of the regions. Again, I think the adoption of privacy is also altered, and I think it varies. You know, North America, Europe, you know, Asia Pac, etc. I think they're all kind of in different stages. But I think as an industry, we are obliged, and as a kind of, you know, governance kind of body within the industry, we're obliged to make sure that, again, consumer choice and the right free consumer choice is part of one of the pillars that we actually adopt as the IAA. So we're always there to make sure that we protect consumer choice, that we protect consumerism, and I think in the day and age of data specifically, I think we have an obligation to make sure that, you know, we abide to governance, we push kind of, you know, rules and regulations out there, and we're doing that already in different parts of the world. I think we should do more of it in general, not just the IAA, but the wider industry. But things like technology, of course. You mentioned AI. I think, again, we've been talking about AI, and there's going to be a lot of other conversations in the coming day about AI. I think AI is a great thing if it's used in the right way. You know, it's not AI that's going to help. I think it's creativity enabled by AI that's going to help, and creativity is human. One of the other things that we're going to cover very diligently in the conference is the fact that AI can be very effective for humanity if it's based on a human construct. So the question right now that a lot of companies are having is, how do you create a governance model for AI that's based on human principles? Which means that, you know, it needs to be ethical, it needs to do the right thing, and you need to serve a purpose. And if you can create that governance model, which is easier said than done, obviously, beyond this interview, but it is easier said than done. But I think if brands have a moral compass based on that, I think they can achieve a lot with AI.
But looking at AI, so do you see it as the driving force shaping the future of marketing and communications?
100%. I think again, it can be a powerful force, a force for good, if it's used based on a construct and a governance model that is inherently human. I believe in that. I think the qualities of AI, whether it's about making sure that it helps creativity, definitely. So I truly believe the future is about, if you want to look at creative agencies, or if you look at marketing agencies, the future is about how do you combine marketing and AI together, not a standalone. I think if there is a mindset out there that says that, you know, creativity without AI is more powerful than creativity with AI, I think that's a fallacy. I think creativity with AI combined together, based on the right construct, can do miracles, and I think we need to adopt that.
Right. So, having said that, with regards to AI and moving forward at the evolving landscape of advertising platforms, how is the IAA adapting to emerging trends like influencer marketing, for example, and social commerce to ensure continued relevance and effectiveness?
Again, I think the concept of influencers are nothing new. I think influencers today, when it comes to the makers economy, which is all around, I mean, you're an influencer and I can be an influencer. Anyone today can be an influencer online, on social platforms. If you have the right fan base, and if you're putting the right content out there, and if your content has at least proper marketing, if your content has proper intent and the right ambition, talking about factual stuff that helps the brand, I think you're an influencer. Now, Influencers today are also the celebrities of the past, right? So again, celebrity marketing and influencer marketing is nothing new. I think as the IAA, again, for us, the moral compass and doing ethical marketing within that construct is important, but we're not also necessarily getting involved in a lot of tactics and strategies to do with influencer marketing. Obviously, we know it, and that's basically our kind of remit at this stage.
But still, some brands are still looking at influencers to market their product, so to speak. Yeah?
Of course, and I think it's a very powerful and it's a very effective tool for marketing. The one thing I would probably recommend for marketers that are looking at influencer marketing specifically to promote is that the adoption of influencers, I think authenticity is very important. And by that I mean, you always need to remember that the consumer is much more intelligent than sometimes marketing believe. Authenticity and the right brand fit between a brand and an influencer is very important. The more you get that combination and relationship right, the more the values of the influencer and the values of the brand are in sync, the more effective that influencer marketing becomes. We've also seen the opposite, where you choose the wrong influencer with the wrong values and you put it with the wrong brand and you put them together and it flops and the strategies don't work because that analysis has not been done properly. So there's always pros and cons to influencer marketing, and if you do it wrong, then it's a disastrous strategy for the brand.
Okay, we've just got to go for a final commercial break. Stay with us. We're talking to Sasan Saeidi, the President and Chairman of IAA World Global. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us on Money Matters. Now, as consumer behaviors shift towards authenticity and purpose-driven brands, how can advertisers strike a balance between promoting products and aligning with meaningful social causes?
I think, first off, purpose is a big word. And purpose means that you basically set your compass as a brand on things that are not just benefiting shareholder value, because we've talked a lot today in the conference also around, the capitalist theory of Milton Friedman and so many others, that companies are there to create shareholder value. I think that's correct. But I think companies are also there to serve proper consumerism, serve society, and serve the planet. I think the combination of all these elements, the three areas that I talked about, really creates your purpose. That why do you exist? What are you good at? And what can you influence in the right manner? I think if you answer these 3-4 points correctly, I think you'll identify what kind of your true purpose is as a brand. I think by default, I think brands need to be much more purposeful when it comes to their marketing. I think consumers today are definitely, and data is there. All the data points out to the fact that today consumers look and adopt brands that are much more purposeful, that are giving back to society, that are inclusive, not in all kinds of inclusivity, and that they are diverse and then they stand for social beliefs. So if brands adopt those strategies, I think they have a higher chance of being bought by consumers. So for me, that purpose-driven marketing, if you want to call it, or brands that need to adopt a strategy beyond just profit, it is no longer a trend. It is no longer an option. You need to have it. Otherwise, in the long run, I don't think you're going to be successful, even in the short run. And we're seeing examples of that every day.
Okay. Now, with the rise of ad blockers and privacy concerns, how should the advertising industry navigate the challenges of reaching target audiences while respecting user privacy and preferences?
Yeah, and I think it's similar to the question that you had about kind of obviously the technology. I think, again, we, as an IAA and as a governance body, we adopt and we push strategies and regulations within markets. As I mentioned, in Europe, data privacy rules are based on GDPR. But then you have the same equivalent in all the regions of the world. So again, for us as an organizing body, that has to remain effective and really pro-consumerism in the right ethical manner. We have to abide to the rules and regulations that privacy that allows for privacy and allows for the protection of consumerism. So that's what we do on a day-to-day basis as the IAA.
Right. So looking at consumer skepticism, with so many ads basically bombarding consumers every day, I mean, we're all consumers in the end. So building trust and authenticity in advertising, I think, has become challenging.
Yeah.
So don't you think that people are wary of being deceived by flashy campaigns?
Yeah, I think so. There's two things. One is your first question around being bombarded by ads. And I fully agree with you. I personally, again, if I want to put myself in the consumer's shoes, I hate it when I'm watching a program and an ad comes in and it's, the unskippable ads. So we all hate it. Now, we hate it also, is that because from a personalization perspective, if you want to serve the right ad for the right consumer that is based on his or her preferences in life and what they're looking for, then I won't skip it that much, right? Then I'll probably consume it.
Yes.
So that's probably a wrong strategy for the brands that are adopting, because they're targeting the wrong person. Authenticity of the brand.
Yep.
Again, I think part of the authenticity element goes back to, how genuine the values of the brands are, and what is the message that you're serving. We talked about influencer marketing. I think there's an element of authenticity that's there, because again, most of the ads that you see on stories that you see, at least I've seen a lot in Asia, they're probably carrying a celebrity or an influencer or someone serving them. I think if that relationship is symbiotic and kind of authentic, I think that just makes the ad much more effective and people kind of prone to believe it versus feel that they're deceived.
Right. So looking at what consumers are looking at now, obviously they are looking at things like sustainability and perhaps even ethical marketing from a consumer point of view. So are consumers becoming more conscious of environmental and social issues? So would marketers need to ensure that their campaigns sort of reflect their values to reach out to them?
Yes, I think, again, as I mentioned, consumers today, at least global studies show it to us, and this is kind of global study based on right percentages, that the majority of consumers buy brands that are sustainable, number one, that care for the planet. And again, from an effectiveness perspective, the data that we have is essentially brands that are sustainable, that are doing the right thing to support society and planet, are 2 to 3 times more effective when it comes to their reach and of course their sales and profits, because people are buying them more, right? So that shows that as marketeers, if we don't care about some of the stuff that your consumers care, because your consumers are caring about these issues. So if you want to be the brand that wants to connect with their heart, because at the end of the day, what we do in communication, what we promote in the industry, is how do you create a connection between a brand and a consumer?
Right.
How does that relationship kind of come together? And if you want to have a relationship, and it's the same thing, it's me and you right now. if we want to have a relationship and get to know each other and become friends, we need to have certain common beliefs. We can't be totally separate and still kind of act. It will not become an authentic relationship.
Right.
So it's the same thing between a brand and a consumer.
Right. So moving on to the era of digital transformation, how can traditional advertising channels stay competitive or relevant, so to speak? And what role does innovation play in maintaining a strong presence in the ever-evolving world market? I
think, look, we at least in our industry, and I obviously as IAA, because we have marketeers and advertising, part of our, when you look at a buying cycle of a customer, it's a journey. So we call it customer journey. And a customer journey is a combination of old media and new media, right? So when you leave your house in the morning and get into your car, you're exposed to television, you're exposed to outdoor, you're exposed to kind of billboards that are there, etc. And then of course you're also exposed to your mobile advertising, your online advertising, etc. So for me, there is a combination of old media and new media really coming together. And if a brand today, in my opinion, wants to connect with the consumer, it needs to use multiple medias throughout the customer journey from morning to night, but it needs to do so in a manner that makes sense to that media, right? So the stuff that I put on outdoor and the messaging that's on outdoor cannot be the same messaging that I'm putting on television. It has to be the same idea if you really want to sell a campaign, but the formats, the way you're telling that story, respecting the medium kind of guidelines needs to be done in a proper manner, so that journey becomes seamless. So you get exposed to different media, it's the same brand telling you the same story, but in a format that makes sense. Right. That for me is the combination of old media and new media coming together.
Right. Final question before we go. As global markets vary in cultural nuances, how does the IAA guide advertisers in creating campaigns that resonate across diverse cultural landscapes while avoiding unintended misinterpretations or cultural insensitivity?
Yeah, I mean, I think great question. First and foremost, marketing and advertising is contextual, has to be culturally relevant for it to be effective. We promote effective cultural marketing and advertising as an organization, which means that we need to be respectful to the rules of the land. We need to be respectful to the cultural nuances that apply to those people that are living in that market, and that we also believe that it is not a one-size-fits-all. That is not marketing in today's. I think marketing in today has to be diverse, so there are certain elements that can be unifying, but there is also a lot of nuances that we, as practitioners in the industry, we need to respect more than ever, in order for our brands to be successful and our marketing to be successful in those markets. So we advise our brands and our members to make sure that first and foremost, be cultural, be sensible, be sensitive to nuances, because I think that's the start and end of any type of marketing these days.
Right. Sasan, thank you very much for appearing on Money Matters. It has been a pleasure having you with us.
Pleasure is mine. Thank you so much, Ken.
Thank you so much for joining us on Money Matters. I'm Zahir Kelvin Ong Abdullah. Stay safe.